So, how did LEGO go from this to this?
O-I-G-O-S-H.
Just put the hat on.
Well, they didn't. Because in order to achieve something that looks and moves and feels like this, you actually have to start here. This is The Magic Portal, a 1989 animated short created by Australian animator Lindsay Flier, and it's widely considered to be the first proper LEGO animated film, or as it's known in the stop-motion community, a brick film. It opened the door for animators who suddenly found LEGO as a medium through which they could tell a story, and that's exactly what directors Phil Lord and Christopher Miller wanted to achieve with 2014's The LEGO Movie.
Our biggest inspiration was all of the brick films and homemade things that LEGO fans make on their own, you know, online and at home. We wanted the movie to feel like it kind of had a grassroots origin. And so we just loved poring over all the crazy little films people were making. We thought if we could make a big version of that, we would have won.
So, using brick films as inspiration, they had the direction of the film figured out. But with the storyboard highlighting scenes like this, and you having a relatively small team of only 30 animators, you don't really have the time or the budget to actually make it the way you want. Or do you? Well, the first step to making a LEGO film is to make it out of LEGO. And that doesn't mean cutting corners to make it look like LEGO, it means building it from the ground up piece by piece.
Now, because we were true to medium and we really didn't want to cheat the brick nature of the film, everything in the film is made out of bricks. So that means even the background stuff is effectively brick made.
But it wasn't just the background elements or objects that figures interact with. It was actually everything.
We wanted the water to be made out of LEGO bricks. We wanted the explosions and fire and smoke and all elements to be made out of animating LEGO bricks.
And with the team using a 3D building software to make everything out of actual bricks, they quickly realized the imperfections on those bricks were now crucial to its genuineness.
A lot of the work went into making the stuff that was generated in the computer look as believable as though it were your LEGO set come to life. And so that meant a lot of scratches and dust and thumbprints and irregularity and imperfections. And a lot of detail was made into making it not be perfect.
This level of detail also translated to the animation of the film, with Phil Lord stating, "We said we should make the choices that a stop-motion animator would make, and even the kind of choices that an amateur would make. The animation should have a hiccup every once in a while."
And that's it, check.
And to achieve that level of realism, it meant foregoing the loose and fluid style of past LEGO films and utilizing the stop-motion animation that made brick films so special. And to do that, they had to live primarily in the ones and twos. In other words, rather than animating everything at the typical 24 frames per second, they often only animated 12 or even 8 frames in that time, which gave the film its choppy appearance. The team even went so far as to eliminate traditional motion blur from the animation, instead giving characters a brick blur, which was a trail the same color as their body built out of actual bricks, essentially borrowing the same technique used by other stop-motion animators. But perhaps the most important element to nailing the look of a brick film was the limited movement of the characters.
The LEGO pieces, you put the head on, you put the legs, and they move in one direction, you know. And they're quite limited in a way. Not in your imagination, but physically they're limited.
See, in the earliest LEGO films, and even those released right before the movie, the figures weren't bound to the movements of actual minifigs, and it made the film and the characters feel disconnected from the medium. But during the creation of the LEGO Movie, this was not only seen as a necessity, but also as a way for the animators to stretch their creativity.
So a big thing with the animators was conveying to them the idea that we should go for the dumbest possible solution whenever possible. So we could never do stuff that you could do in CG, like bend the arms of the characters. They had to stay stiff because we were more interested in how you would solve the problem of like, how do you, like, you can't drink, they can't clap, so they do stuff like this.
But all that creativity wouldn't amount to anything if they couldn't nail down how to film it. And while they could have simply followed the standard filming principles of 3D animation, they wanted to achieve something more visceral with the film.
Trying to give the camera weight, that was one of the trickiest things on this film. How big the camera would be that we were using here, and how far could you actually move that on a table, and what would that look like relative to the minifigs. And even when the camera's moving and going to a stop, we didn't want it to be too smooth. We'd always be pushing to see how far we can make it feel organic and real.
And that meant they needed to approach the filming from the same perspective as a miniature photographer. Essentially, they had to utilize the shallow depth of field that's associated with miniatures.
When you're doing miniature photography, it's really hard to keep, everything in focus. And when you're doing something in 3D, it's really nice to keep everything in focus because you can look around the screen, but it doesn't look real. You want to make sure it looked like something you could really do at home. If you had that many Lego bricks and you had a really good lighting team, that you could make it yourself. And so it was really important to us that we had a shallow depth of field.
It's details like this that help explain why it took this film 3 years to get made. Because it wasn't just an advertisement for Lego. It was a passion project by two men who understood the origins of Lego animation and wanted to pay homage to it. The project was a huge risk and almost doomed to fail from the start. But through their vision and the team at Animal Logic's dedication to authenticity, they not only created one of the most surprising animated films, but also one of the most magical.
Yes, I am. I think.
I'm Luke Custer.
But just in case, tell me the whole thing again. I wasn't listening.
Thanks for watching, everybody.
Oh, man.